Can you live in Dubai if you are a middle-class guy or a lower middle-class guy? Is Dubai just for super rich people? Today, I will address that in detail in this video with real numbers and real statistics and real data. A lot of you have asked about this. I've actually been curious about this myself because I'm at a certain economic level where I don't pay attention to things that are less expensive. And so what I'm going to do here is give you all the data and answer that question. The answer is surprising. The answer is yes, you can. I just spoiled the ending. And I'm going to use my experience from living here in Dubai for 2 years now, plus being here a lot, 2-3 years prior to that, as well as two websites, numbeo.com and Expatistan. And I kind of mix that with my own experience because sometimes those numbers don't make sense. You need kind of the opinion of someone who's on the ground, been living here a while to actually clarify the numbers. So here's what I did, is I asked ChatGPT, what is the most typical average, in quotes, American city in terms of middle-class cost of living? And it came up with several cities. Its two favorites were San Antonio, Texas, and Phoenix, Arizona. I have chosen San Antonio, Texas because I don't want to be biased about Phoenix because Scottsdale, Arizona, which is kind of in Phoenix, is one of my flags. So I'm going to use San Antonio, Texas as a comparison point between San Antonio, Texas, the typical average American city that isn't super expensive, but is a normal city, compared to Dubai. And like I said, I'm going to use those websites as guidance. I'm going to pull their numbers, but I'm going to give you context in terms of someone who's been living here for a few years. And so here's what I'm going to do for this. I'm going to focus on living in Dubai as a single, unmarried man with no children. I got to get some kind of baseline here, for else this is going to make any sense. If you are a man and you have a wife and 4 kids, it's going to be different. If you're a woman and you have 2 children, you're a single mom, it's going to be different. So I'm just going to have to use this as a basis. If you are not a single man with no wife, no girlfriend, no kids, then just kind of modify what I say and use this as a springboard to your own research. I'm still going to give you, you'll still have a very good idea of how much it'll cost you to live in Dubai after this video is over. Let's see here, checking my notes. And the reason I did that, yeah, this is a clarification. The reason I did that is, for example, can you go get crappy fast food several times a week when you're a single man with no kids? Yes, you can. Can you do that if you're married? No. Your little wife will say, ew, that's gross. Why do you want to eat there? Ew. That's why I use that as an example. And most of you who watch this video are guys, and most of you are not married. So there you go. I'm using a demographic play here. Okay. So I'm going to go down and answer the question, which one is cheaper, San Antonio, Texas, or Dubai? And I'll give you various price points here. So on the overall, according to these websites, San Antonio, Texas is cheaper than Dubai, but only an aggregate of 6%. Interesting. Now, I do not count into that real estate, but we'll talk about real estate in a second. The cost of a home, the cost of renting an apartment in Dubai versus the cost of renting something in San Antonio, Texas. I've mentioned this before. Since post-pandemic, number one, and since Putin's stupid war, number two, real estate prices have skyrocketed in Dubai, and the only cheap real estate you can get in terms of several bedrooms is far outside of the city. But I'll talk more about that as we go along the video. All right, so first let's start with cheap meals. So fast food level meals. Which one is cheaper, Dubai or San Antonio? The answer is Dubai by a wide margin. So on average, San Antonio is $18 for a cheap meal. And on average, Dubai is $10 US. And by the way, all these prices I'm going to give you are USD. They use dirhams here in Dubai. It's called AED. I'm going to use USD just as a comparison point. The reason for that is Dubai has lots of little tiny, cheap little restaurants. I don't want to call them hole-in-the-wall restaurants. Some of them are. Most of them are. They're not hole-in-the-wall. They're not crappy, but there are a billion little teeny tiny cheap restaurants all over Dubai. Is that the case in a typical American city? No, there's some. You got to look around, then you'll see one. You look around, then you see another one. Usually they're chain stores, normal restaurants, Applebee's type places. There's not a lot of cheap places. There are some, but Dubai has a ton. So that makes perfect sense. Now, this is without alcohol. So let me talk about alcohol in a minute. In Dubai, in terms of cost of alcohol, San Antonio is much cheaper. Alcohol is, let's see, 36% to 150% more expensive in Dubai than it is in San Antonio. The reason for that is this is a Muslim country, and up until just a few years ago, It was illegal for most people, or a lot of people, Muslims in particular, to not drink alcohol in Dubai. You could as an expat. You just had to jump through some hoops. Today, it's a lot easier. We just bought some the other day. You can actually have it delivered to your house. So now everybody can drink in Dubai, including Muslims. As I've talked about many times, every year Dubai reduces their laws and removes laws, whereas everywhere in your collapsing Western country, they add more restrictions and add laws. But you still have that holdover, so alcohol is more expensive here. So if you're a big drinker, you're going to spend a lot more money here in Dubai, even if it's just beer, than you are in a Western country. All right, now let's move this up to a fancy restaurant. In terms of a fancy restaurant, how much, in terms of a typical meal at a fancy restaurant, a meal for one, meal for two, and this is without alcohol, just to make this clear, is it going to be San Antonio or Dubai? Which one's going to be cheaper? San Antonio is going to be cheaper by far. Dubai is anywhere from 26% to 128% more expensive for fancy restaurants. And boy, is that the truth. It is a typical experience for me and Pink Firefly. I take a day off per week, usually Fridays. We go out and eat somewhere nice. It is not unusual at all. It's very normal. Matter of fact, it's the standard almost, that when me and Pink Firefly go out, or Pink Firefly and I, use correct grammar, go out to a nice meal, even if it's lunch, but certainly if it's dinner, she will have a little bit of alcohol. I will have no alcohol. It will be easily over $200 US just for two people. $300 US, $320 US is not unusual. And I'm at the point now financially where I don't care how much things cost. It doesn't bother me. But if that bothers you, yes. So be aware that absolutely Dubai is some of the highest end, fanciest restaurants in the universe, in the whole world. And so if you go nice, it's going to be more expensive in Dubai than it will be in a typical American city. No question about that. But again, if you're a single guy, no girlfriend, no kids, no wife, that's completely within your control, isn't it? Are you going to be going out to $250 a night restaurants on a regular basis? If that's you, probably not, especially if you're a middle-class guy, probably can't even afford that. So it's almost not even relevant, but it is a fact in terms of how expensive Dubai is. Now, let's look at utilities. So not rent, this is just utilities. According to my research and according to my experience, but there's a tricky part to this, they're about the same. So Dubai and San Antonio in a typical month is going to be about the same in terms of overall utilities, water, sewer, garbage, electricity. However, in San Antonio, Texas, and in the vast majority of Western cities all over the world, Canada, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, what have you, do you need to crank your AC every month, 12 months out of the year? No, you do not. That is very unusual, right? That'd be very strange. In Dubai, you're going to. That AC is going to be on pretty much year round. Now, here's another question. Not another question, another point. Between the months of May and September, not only is your AC going to be on, it's going to be cranking like a maniac. This thing is going to be going crazy from May 1st to October 1st, like mad, because those months are very hot. So you're going to be cranking that AC. Pink Firefly and I right now live in a house, a 4-bedroom house, really a 5-bedroom house because it includes a maid's room, 2-story, 4-bedroom house, 5-bedroom house. But it's a smaller house, not a big giant mansion type house like we had in Camas, Washington, back when we lived in the United States. So it's a smaller 4-bedroom house. The AC bill, or at least the electric bill here, is easily $1,200 USD a month because you got to crank that shit. So just be aware of that. Technically, utilities in terms of the dollar per dollar cost is about the same, but AC is a factor. Now, what I do is I leave. I get the hell out of Dubai, and I don't spend a lot of time in Dubai during June, July, August because it's too hot. I'm married, so often she doesn't do that, so we still need to have the AC going. But again, if you're not married, single guy, you have a little more control over that. So just be aware your AC bill is going to be a lot higher in Dubai than it is in just about anywhere in the Western world, and certainly between the months of May and September. All right. Taxis and Ubers. Getting around by taxi or Uber, things like that. Now, if you have a car, different story, we'll talk about in a second. But taxis and Ubers, I do not own a car. I've done several videos as to why I don't own a car. I don't want one. So guess what? Who is cheaper, San Antonio or Dubai? Dubai is far cheaper, 40 to 60% cheaper. This is an Uber/taxi city. And every Uber, just about every Uber, is a Lexus. They're nice. And it's cheap. Getting around Dubai with taxis and Ubers is cheap as fuck. It's awesome. This is one of the many reasons I choose not to own a car here. So it is very, very inexpensive. According to the websites, San Antonio is, taxis and Ubers, read my own notes here. Yeah, that's about right. So if you are like me and choose not to own a car, you're going to not only save a lot of money by owning a car, you're going to save a shitload of money in terms of transportation. All right. Now, what about, well, Caleb, I want to have a car. I want a car. A lot of people here really want cars. I'm not sure why this is. Even people from the UK, though, you need a car here. You don't, but a lot of people have told my wife, all of her friends, when she first moved here, oh, you need to get a car. You have to have a car here. You don't, but people seem to think like you do. I don't know why. So if you want a car here, is it more expensive to buy a car here or own a car here, lease here, or in San Antonio? San Antonio is cheaper. Now, it says, the websites say at least 14% cheaper in San Antonio. However, my experience is that is a very low figure. Owning a car in Dubai is definitely more expensive. You buy a Honda, you buy a mid-range car, you buy a nicer car, it's going to be a lot more money. Plus, there are tolls. There's a thing called Silic, which is a chip they put in the car. And it's kind of like those things they have like in Southern California where you drive through certain streets, certain bridges, and they automatically toll you. Here's another thing, parking violations. Now, here's the thing about Dubai, driving around, if you're curious. There are no police in Dubai. What? Yes. I mean, I've been here years. I have never seen a cop car. Not once. I've never seen a cop car driving around. In the United States, which is basically a quasi-police state, I've done videos on this, you see cops everywhere, right? All over the fucking place. You just don't see cops here. You don't. If they're driving around, they're using unmarked cars. Here's something else. I have never seen a car pulled over on the side of the road by the side of the road by a police officer. In Dubai, not once. I've been here years. Not one time. So you're not going to get pulled over by a cop, but parking. If you get a parking ticket in Dubai, the lowest price is going to be is $85. That's the lowest. It goes up to $300, $400, $500. So if you fuck around with parking here in Dubai, they murder you. So just be aware of this. And again, reason number 47, I don't own a car. I don't have to worry about parking. My wife owns a car because she wants a car. And guess what? She's got dinged several times with these huge parking fines. And she gets all mad, pissed off, and I say, well, that's why I don't have a car. So there you go. So be aware of that. So owning a car, definitely more expensive. Not owning a car, going around using Ubers and taxis, far less expensive. Okay? Okay. All right. Not to even mention things like the metro here is really inexpensive. Things like that. And it's a pretty small city, so metro tends to work pretty well. Anyway, all right, let's talk about rent. That's a biggie. So we're going to talk here about rent closer to the city and rent further out from the city. And this is going to be very interesting. And I looked at these numbers, and this seems about right to me. If you rent anywhere near the city, let me explain how this works. Dubai is a long, skinny rectangle against the ocean. So here's the ocean, here's Dubai, long, skinny rectangle. That's kind of how it looks, okay? So the closer you get to the water is also closer to the city. The city, quote unquote. There are two downtown areas with high rises, but there's high rises everywhere. There's the marina and there's what they call downtown. But anywhere closer to the water, the closer you get to the water, the closer you get to where everyone wants to be, the more expensive the real estate is. Obviously, the further you go out, more toward the desert, the cheaper it is. Makes perfect sense. So in terms of getting somewhere closer to the city, let's see. San Antonio is cheaper. Absolutely. Now, these numbers say right now that Dubai is anywhere from 21 to 33% more expensive. I think that's low. I think it's more expensive than that. Not radically more expensive. I would say more like 40, 50, 60% more expensive for an equivalent apartment if you're closer to a city. So a decently cool apartment in San Antonio versus a decently cool apartment being decently cool part of town is going to run you, I would say, 40, 50, 60% more money in Dubai. Okay. Now, here's what's interesting. If you get rent further out from the city, farther from the city, guess what? Dubai is cheaper than San Antonio. And this is the truth. This is something very weird about Dubai that you're not going to be accustomed to if you're a Westerner. If you're a Westerner, the cities are collapsing. Everyone's getting the fuck out of the cities. So people are going to the suburbs. So suburbs are a very popular thing in the West. I have lived in suburbs the first 48, 49 years of my life. That's just how I was born and raised, all the way back to the 80s and the 70s. That's just a thing that Westerners have, particularly Americans and Canadians as well, but even a lot of Europeans. Dubai doesn't work that way. Dubai, the suburbs are not very popular. Nobody wants to live way the fuck out in the desert. Now, people do. People certainly do. People who want to save money. So if you move out further to the desert, away from the water, away from the city, Dubai is actually 6% cheaper than in San Antonio. I think that's low. I think it's about 10 or 12% cheaper. We are now looking for properties. We're getting out of this house. This was not This house is not our favorite. I'll do a video walkthrough of this house before we leave. But we're looking at houses right now. You can get some big, nice houses, big, nice apartments if you don't mind living 15 minutes outside of town, out in the desert. You get some really good deals that you would not get in a typical American city, because as you get away from American city or European city or Canadian city or Australian city, a lot of people are still there living in the suburbs, aren't they? So you can actually get cheaper housing in Dubai than in your typical Western city, as long as you're cool living out of the city. Now, if you're a young single guy, maybe you want to be in the city because that's where it's cool, and that's where all the chicks are, and that's where all the action is, and restaurants and bars. So you got to factor that in there, right? Let's see. Close to the desert, shape of the city. Oh, another thing too I want to mention is that to the north of Dubai, we have a city called Sharjah, which is one of the other emirates here in the United Arab Emirates. And Sharjah is the less expensive version of Dubai. It is the cheap suburb, quote unquote, of Dubai. Now, it's not. It would be insulting if I said this to them. It's an entirely separate city. It's an entirely separate emirate. But it's only about 25 minutes from my house. That's where a lot of people go, because Sharjah is way cheaper than Dubai. It's 50 to 70% cheaper for the same stuff. You're not in Dubai, so you're not as cool. You're in Sharjah instead, but you're 20, 25, 30 minutes away from Dubai, so it's not bad. So a lot of the Pakistanis, Indians, lower income workers will move to Sharjah. Fun fact, Sharjah is the 7th fastest growing city on the planet. Dubai is booming economically. And so a lot of people are moving to Dubai, but a lot of people are moving to Sharjah as well because it's cheaper. So you have that option too. You could live in Sharjah and go hang out in Dubai whenever you want. Matter of fact, if I was a lower middle class guy on my own, young guy, that's probably what I would do. I'd either live out in the desert or I'd go live in Sharjah and then come down to Dubai on the weekends or whenever I felt like it. Makes sense. All right. So what is the bottom line based on all this stuff? Here's the bottom line. I'm kind of surprised. This is what I thought, but I wanted confirmation from these websites and I got it. Indeed, a single middle class or even lower middle class guy could move to Dubai and make it work. You could do it. A lot of people, myself included, even when I first started coming to Dubai, saying, oh, Dubai is only for rich people. And again, I have said many times, let me say this again, I've been on the record as saying this, that if you're a lower income guy and you want to maximize your dollars in terms of cost of living, you don't want to go to Dubai. You want to go to Thailand, right? You want to go to South America. You want to go where things are really cheap. And Paraguay, my God, you'll live like a little king in Paraguay because your money will go farther. So your money will not go as far in Dubai as it will be in many other countries I would recommend stronger than this if you're tight on money. But if the question is, could I move to Dubai as a lower income guy? Not a poor person, but a lower middle class guy. The answer is yes, you could. You eat cheap, don't do anything expensive, you'd be perfectly fine. And these numbers have confirmed this. Very, very interesting. So there you go. If you want more data on this, let me know. But I know a lot of you guys have been asking about this. So yes, if you're a lower income guy, you could come to Dubai. You could live here, pay zero taxes. Pretty damn nice. Even if you're an American, you get a $120,000 tax deduction if you use the foreign earned income exclusion. If you're not an American, you just move to Dubai, you stop paying taxes in your high tax Western country. There you go. By the way, I'll end with that. That's the last thing you want to factor in. What if you paid zero taxes? So let's say you have some sort of very low location independent income. You've got location independent income, but it's like $50,000 a year. But you're paying taxes on that. You move to Dubai, suddenly those taxes vanish, and now that's even more money you can spend on your lifestyle, right? Make sense? Cool. All right. Have fun. Bye.